What happens when a top detective is sent to a private island to investigate a murder case and find the murderer? Let's find out in the movie Glass Onion, a knives-out mystery. A group of friends are challenged by their billionaire friend Miles to solve a series of puzzles contained in a mysterious box. As they work to unravel the riddles, they are drawn deeper into a complex web of clues. Eventually, the box opens to reveal an invitation to a luxurious weekend getaway on Miles' private island, where they will play a murder mystery game. As they prepare to embark on the trip, they are joined by renowned detective Blanc, who has also received a mystery box and an invitation to the island. While the friends are initially surprised by his presence, they assume that Miles has invited him to see if his mystery can be solved by an actual detective. The group of friends heading to Miles' private island includes Lionel, head scientist of Miles' tech company. Then there's Birdie, a top fashion model, and her personal assistant Peg. Then there's Claire, a rising politician, and lastly Duke, a social media star, and his girlfriend Whiskey. As they prepare to leave, they are joined by Andy, Miles' former business partner, and a former member of their group, who they are no longer on good terms with. Upon Benoit Blanc's curiosity, Lionel reveals that Andy and Miles used to run a company called Alpha, but Andy was kicked by Miles for having different ideas about the company. As a result, Andy stopped being in contact with the group. The group arrives at the private island and is welcomed by Miles himself, who is quite surprised to see Andy. Miles tells the group that they'll be having the island all to themselves as there's no one except for them. As everyone starts unpacking, Miles asks Detective Benoit Blanc how he was invited, as Miles only sent invitations to 5 friends and did not invite Benoit Blanc. Miles assumes that one of his friends invited the detective as a prank. Miles is excited for Benoit Blanc to join his murder mystery game and see if the detective can solve it. The mystery is already deepening, and the group is looking forward to an exciting and unpredictable weekend on the private island. As they settle into their accommodations, they explore and catch up with each other. Duke, a masculine social media star, carries his gun with him at all times, while Birdie's assistant Peg encourages her to speak with Miles and ask for a favor. Miles and Birdie run a fashion business that has recently faced criticism for exploiting cheap labor in Bangladesh to make their luxury clothing line. Miles has asked Birdie to take the blame to protect their company and himself, but doing so would ruin Birdie's reputation and career. Peg and Birdie know this, leaving Birdie with a difficult decision: protect her reputation and career or support her business partner and friend. Miles brags about being a disruptor and credits his disruptive behavior with his own success. He also praises his friends, except for Andy, for being disruptors like him and being successful in their fields. Andy becomes angry and accuses the group of only hanging out with Miles for his money and influence, and always covering up his faults to protect their careers. Detective Benoit Blanc later sees Peg plead with Miles not to use Birdie as a scapegoat, which Miles denies. He also sees Duke get angry when he sees his girlfriend getting intimate with Miles. Later at night, Miles invites his friends to a cocktail party and shows off his valuable glass art collection, including the Mona Lisa painting, which he claims is the actual painting by Leonardo da Vinci. Miles wants to be remembered and talked about forever, like the iconic painting. To do so, he has invited top world leaders to his private island to present them with his new invention, Clear, a solid hydrogen fuel made from seawater that is the most efficient and environmentally friendly power source. While Miles is excited about this, Lionel and Claire are uneasy about the dangers of hydrogen fuel and the lack of research behind it. Miles tries to reassure them by revealing that the entire island is powered by Clear, but the group sees the potential for catastrophic consequences if Clear is widely used. Later, Miles starts the murder mystery game by outlining the rules. The person who can figure out the murderer and the method of the crime will win the game. Almost immediately, Detective Benoit Blanc points to Birdie and names her as the murderer in Miles' planned game. To everyone's shock, he even correctly identifies the weapon Miles was supposed to be murdered with. Miles is frustrated that the game, which he thought would take several days to solve, was cracked by Benoit Blanc in mere seconds. He is at a loss for what to do with the rest of the days on the island. Detective Benoit Blanc advises Miles to focus on his safety, as everyone he has invited to the island has a motive to kill him. He then notices a napkin on which Miles had originally outlined the idea for the company Alpha, which helped make it a successful company and is why Miles has it framed. While the friends are planning to leave the island the next morning, Andy's presence makes them uncomfortable, and Claire tells Andy not to judge them. Andy then accuses the group of abandoning her in favor of Miles, who they know is a fraud. Duke then blames Andy for not being as opportunistic as the rest of them and not putting her ego aside. He claims that if she had done so, she could have had a happy and successful life like the rest of them. Frustrated by the confrontation, Andy leaves the room. Miles arrives and tries to improve the mood by getting everyone to have fun. Duke shows something to Miles and asks if he can help him get a television spot to promote his YouTube channel, which Miles agrees to. He plays some music and raises a toast to their friendship and being disruptors. Everyone drinks, and shortly after, Duke collapses to the ground and mysteriously dies. Detective Blanc examines Duke's body and determines that there is nothing blocking his airways, making his death suspicious. Miles is in shock, so Detective Blanc asks Lionel to call the ambulance and the police to investigate the murder. Lionel arrives and says that no one can reach their island at the moment, and they'll have to wait until morning to get help. Miles then notices that Duke drank from his glass, suggesting someone spiked Miles' drink and wanted to kill him. However, Duke mistakenly took Miles' glass and drank from it, resulting in his death. Miles suspects his friends of trying to murder him, as Detective Blanc had warned him. Detective Blanc finds that Duke's phone and gun are missing, which means someone in the house stole his gun. With this new revelation, Miles starts to panic, and just then the lights go out. With the lights out, everyone starts to panic and gets separated. Later, Detective Blanc finds Andy, who is unaware of Duke's death. As they are talking, a mysterious man with Duke's gun shoots at Andy and kills her. Following Andy's death, Detective Blanc calls for everyone to stay together. He then tells them that he has finally figured out the truth. A flashback scene reveals that it was Helen, Andy's twin sister, who had brought the box and invitation to Blanc. Helen revealed to Benoit that Andy had died of suicide a couple of days earlier, but when Helen was cleaning Andy's house, she found the box with the invitation. Helen believes Andy could not have committed suicide and was actually planning to fight a case against Miles. Upon questioning, Helen tells Benoit that Andy was the original leader of the Friends group and introduced everyone to Miles. At first, nobody liked Miles, but he eventually gained their favor through his influence and helped them. Andy trusted Miles with her idea for Alpha, and together, they started the company and made it extremely successful. Miles one day wanted to use the company's entire assets and budget towards making solid hydrogen fuel, but Andy stopped him because she knew it was dangerous. To get rid of Andy, Miles kicked her out of the company, which was her idea to begin with. Andy had lost the original napkin with the blueprint for the company, so Miles lied and said it was his idea, even creating a fake napkin blueprint as evidence. The Friends group also lied in court and said it was Miles' idea, not Andy's. After being betrayed by her friends and kicked out of her own company, without any compensation, Andy was frustrated and wanted to prove her innocence. She eventually found the original napkin and mailed her former friends and Miles, giving them one final chance to set things right. However, just a few days after that, Andy died of apparent suicide and the napkin was lost once again. This seems extremely suspicious to Helen, so she asks Blanc to go to the island party and find out who killed her sister. Deducing the entire case, Blanc realizes that all the friends have a motive for killing Andy. Miles could have killed Andy to have the company to himself and finance his hydrogen fuel idea. The rest of the friends also have a motive, as they lied under oath, and the truth being revealed could hurt their reputation, and more importantly, they would lose Miles' support and influence. When Blanc realizes that the news of Andy's death hasn't been released, he suggests Helen come to the island with him and pose as Andy. That way they can catch the killer off guard. After hesitation, Helen agrees to accompany him and acts like Andy upon arrival. While everyone were busy having fun, Helen was searching for clues and the stolen napkin. During her investigation, Helen finds out that just days after Andy emailed her friends about the napkin, Claire and Duke went to Andy's house to talk to her, because she hadn't answered her phone. This leads Helen to believe that Duke and Claire did not kill Andy. Later, Duke dies and Helen is also shot to death. But in reality, Helen is saved by a diary she had with her. Realizing the killer probably thinks Helen is dead, Blanc uses hot sauce to make it look like she really died. While he keeps Miles and everyone busy with his story, Helen sneaks into Miles' office and finds the napkin with Andy's original blueprint. Blanc then reveals that Miles is the culprit behind everything. During the party, the news of Andy's death went viral, and Duke, who had his phone with him, was the first to know she was dead. He also saw Miles drive away from Andy's house on his way to meet her, leading him to believe Miles killed her. That's why Duke asked him a favor to keep his mouth shut. However, Miles was afraid Duke might blackmail him even more, so he spiked his drink with pineapple juice and handed it over to Duke, who was allergic to pineapple. He then stole Duke's gun and later shot Helen. Just as Benoit Blanc finishes the story, Helen arrives and shows the napkin to Miles and everyone. She has finally won and plans to use it to prove her sister's innocence and put Miles behind bars for her murder. However, Miles quickly burns the napkin. Blanc tells Helen that he has helped her solve the mystery, but there is nothing he can do legally if there is no evidence. Additionally, the witnesses to Miles burning the napkin refuse to testify. With the only piece of evidence gone, Helen is back to square one. Before leaving, Blanc gives Helen clear and suggests an idea. Helen understands what Blanc means and starts breaking valuable artifacts in the room. Soon, others in the room who despise Miles but are too afraid to do anything about it join in and take out their frustration. After a while, they all stop, but Helen keeps going and breaks everything she can. She then throws a piece of clear at the broken pieces of glass, which catches fire. Since the entire house is powered by hydrogen fuel, the power system catches fire and explodes from within. Helen then rushes to open the protective glass over the Mona Lisa painting, which also catches on fire and is destroyed. Moments later, Miles taunts Helen by saying that whatever she did to his art pieces will mean nothing to him. But Helen reminds him that he invited top world leaders to his island house, which no longer exists. She also destroyed the power system, so he has nothing to show them. Helen may not be able to send Miles to jail, but she can have the last laugh by destroying his ambition and dreams. As Helen leaves, her courage inspires the others to testify against Miles and all the wrongs he has done. The movie ends with Helen catching up with Benoit Blanc as a fleet of boats approaches the island. Thank you for watching our movie analysis of Glass Onion. We hope you enjoyed our interpretation of the film and that it provided some new insights for you. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more movie recaps. We'll see you in the next one.